Start fresh. Hi, everybody. In EXP Family Tree again. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. I set everybody off. I did not mean to do that. We are back live again on EXP Family Tree. This is our mindset, our motivation, our market update with Nikki and with Angie every Monday at this time. Put it in your calendars. Start your week off right. It is going to be live streamed in EXP Family Tree. We'll also have it out on YouTube. I'll let you guys take it away. We're going to do this take two. Happy Monday, you guys.
Technology. Love it. Thank you, Carrie. All right, Nikki, I'll let you dive right into it. I love the explanation you're giving. So if you can just start that over fresh, I think it's so important because that's one of the things I always look forward to every week.
Absolutely. So in this market, everybody's always wondering, what are interest rates doing? That's really what we want to start with from an update perspective. So a lot of times you'll see me put this graph in front of you and talk about interest rates. So this is what we use on a daily basis in order to look at interest rates, understand what the market is doing, and help you form a strategy on locking in your mortgage. So along the bottom of this graph right here, we have time. This time spans about 30 days. I can change it anyway to 3 months up to, down to 10 days. So we can kind of get really nitty gritty on what the market is doing. So with these, each individual bar is a. And if the bar is green, that means that rates improved for that day. If the bar is red, that means that rates did not improve for that day. In other words, went higher. So what we're looking for is obviously a lot of these green bars. And the larger the bar, the more volatility in the market there was. So in other words, the more of a change there was over the time of that day. As we see the bars move up and down this graph, interest rates are going to be higher as the bars move down here, and they're going to be lower as the bars move up the graph. So as you can see over the last 30 days, what we've gotten is the peak of interest rates right here, which is about 25 days ago. And then we have interest rates slowly going down, 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 a little bit back up and then back down again. So a lot of the result right here is going to be because of the jobs reports last week, inflation numbers, things of that nature that influence the market. It's important to remember that in that mortgage interest rates are based on the 10-year treasury bond. They are not based on what the Fed says the interest rate is, et cetera. So as you can see, we've had some nice movement here into the day. Down here was about 8.5. Up here, you're touching in the low 7s, maybe even the high 6s, depending on your situation and if you want to buy down some points. So a really nice improvement over last week. We're hoping that that trend continues. All signs point to yes, that we are going to get some lower interest rates into the new year. A couple of things that influence that are going to be the election year coming up. With the candidates being announced, we usually see a little bit of a dip in interest rates during that point in any given election year. Also, we're seeing more favorable numbers, from different reports that are coming out that are also going to influence it. So some really good trend of the interest rates and hoping for a great spring next year. For us in particular, one of the things I wanted to announce this week is that last week we started to do temporary buy downs where the buyer can actually pay for their own temporary buy down, or the seller and the buyer can split the cost of that temporary buy down. So I don't know if you guys remember from last week, but I was talking about how we can use seller paid closing costs in order to do buy downs on interest rate. What that means is we can do it temporary. In other words, buy it down to 2 points or 3 points or 3 percentage points below the current market rate, and then increase them by 1 percentage point per year over time. Or we can do it as a permanent buy down where we take all of that seller paid closing costs and we push it into permanently lowering that interest rate. A lot of times what's more effective in this market is going to be the temporary buy down because it allows you to buy that interest rate down a lot further as we wait for interest rates to go down naturally. The cool thing about this is prior to last week, the seller was responsible for paying 100% of the cost of that buy down. And now into this week and moving forward, the buyer can elect to do their own temporary buy down, and they can split the cost with the seller. It can go 80-20, 70-30. It doesn't have to be a 50-50 split. So it's really nice to be able to have that flexibility. We're using it a lot in this market, especially for first-time home buyers. It's a great tool to allow them to step up or step into a higher mortgage payment over time, and helps them get used to the idea of, things increasing over time and get used to that first mortgage payment if they're used to paying rent or not used to paying as much per month from that standpoint. So yeah, some great news on that front.
That's fantastic. So as a real estate agent, based upon who you know is kind of hanging out, waiting, who should we be contacting, having this information now and knowing that this
Yeah,
is
anybody that is, again, a first-time home buyer,
okay.
anybody who has, who has been saying, okay, I'm kind of on the fence. I'm waiting for interest rates to come down. I'm, waiting for the market to soften up. I'm waiting for home prices to come down, things of that nature that are really people who are on the fence or who you would consider that are just playing the waiting game. The one thing that we do know, and the one thing we always want to stress to our buyers is, as interest rates come down on a permanent basis, the cost of the house inevitably goes up. So that part is not coming down, is the cost of the house. What's coming down is the interest rate. And so there's going to be more competition in the market, things of that nature. So it's always a good idea for us to put that strategy in place as soon as possible to get those buyers into homes at a comfortable price point where they will just take benefit from the appreciation as well. So also from a listing side, if you have people who are on the fence about listing, or maybe they want to list their home a little higher or whatever that is, they can offer right off the bat to pay a portion of the cost of that temporary buy down. They don't have to do the whole 2.5% to 3% of the purchase price to finance that entire buy down. They can just say, okay, we're going to put X amount of dollars towards seller pay closing costs, and then have that buyer come in and use that money towards part of their temporary buy down or the permanent buy down. So it's a really nice feature for both sellers and buyers.
Wow. Yeah, I know I sent an agent or two your way that were contacting me and saying, my listing's been sitting. What can I do? Or, what's a strategy?
There you go.
Pictures, lower price. Do I pull it off the market and put it back on? I'm like, this is all, again, that is why it's so important to hear all this up to date, because within that time now, buyers can participate in this. It's not only from the seller side, and that's all brand new information. So it's how do we use that now from the seller standpoint, from your buyer standpoint, and get ahead of the competition there's going to be as we're projecting in the spring with the multiple offers. And I see a lot of Facebook posts where that traditional one is you could either buy now and have a little bit more power as a buyer, or go back to the, what we remember it as being when there was so much competition, where you're paying 20, 30, 100,000 over list price, no inspection,
absolutely,
appraisal gap, all the things we had to do. So if you really look at it with this tool, especially, that's an amazing opportunity to be able to get out there now and beat the spring market, which I know in Minnesota is February. So we're not even that far away from it.
Right, correct. Yeah, it's a great opportunity. And I always encourage people to definitely look at more homes in the winter and consider moving in the winter, even though it's snowy and cold, it is what it is. And if it helps you get into a home sooner and helps you, put that pen to paper and get it at a, at a comfortable position in your finances, then why not? You know what I mean? I'll bring hot chocolate. No.
Yeah. And I always tell people too, now's the perfect time, because sometimes you'll get those sellers that are waiting. But if you look at, doing a search for expireds and canceleds and those people, if it's of interest, figure that out and get into some homes that might not be. Just be resourceful, network with other agents. Get a great loan officer like Nikki that can really help you understand all the options and opportunities, because they're there. We just often don't know what to look for because we don't know what we don't know. So this information is just awesome. So helpful.
Yeah. Another tip that I would just say is, especially coming into, we are, as mortgage professionals, we are actually in our licensing renewal time right now. It started November 1st, and everyone has to complete their education and get their licensing done by January 1st. So whatever states you're licensed in, whatever that means for you, you have to relicense for the mortgage industry. They are predicting a huge downturn in the amount of mortgage professionals that are going to be renewing their licenses due to, the cost, the market turn, things of that nature that we've all experienced this past year. So it's important to make sure that you check with your buyers that are waiting. Make sure their pre-approvals are solid. Make sure their loan officer is still in the business. That is going to be a huge change. Make sure if they are approved with a bank, with an actual bank that happens to do mortgage lending, it's important that they check that that bank is still doing mortgage lending. We're seeing a lot of banks just completely shut down the mortgage side of things for legislative purposes, which we can get into on another call, but we're seeing a lot of banks start closing their mortgage division, one of which is Wells Fargo, where they've suspended mortgage lending for anyone that is a non-Wells Fargo customer. So it's really important that you do your buyers a favor and make sure they're informed, make sure their loan officer is still in the business, they've done their renewals, they're going to be there for the long haul, and make sure that that's a solid thing as you move into that spring market like you were talking about.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, think about that. If you mention that, and if you catch this, like, how good does that make you as an agent look, that you're on top of it, you're doing your job? I mean, how many agents even know to do that? And I love that you mentioned that, because yeah, I've heard, the rates are astounding of how many people have just taken that because they hired so much, and now it's completely, the pendulum has completely swung the other way, and now we're going to see a lot of settling. So do your buyers definitely a service. Don't do them a disservice, and just ask the question. And is there an easy way to even ask their lender? What would you say, Nikki? Like, are you going to be in the business after January 1st? I mean, even have the buyers say,
well, I would probably start, yeah. No, I would probably start with the buyer and say, hey, when was the last time that you did speak to your loan officer? When was the last time that, when was the last time they spoke to you about redoing your pre-approval, things of that nature, and start the conversation off that way. Make a call to their lender and say, hey, just want to, if you haven't introduced yourself already, or if it's just, hey, I just want to catch up. I know there's been a lot of changes this year. I know there's going to be a lot of changes coming into the new year, and I want to make sure that the pre-approval is ready to go, and that, you're feeling confident with what you have going on. And at that point, they'll be able to tell you whether or not they are going to continue in the business or not. We've already seen a couple of clients come over from new clients, actually, that come over from other loan officers, where they just simply could not get a hold of their loan officer, and their loan officer never told them that they were out of the business, never said anything. And it's just kind of like ghost, and they don't answer their phone. So it's just a nice opportunity for you to talk to the lender, for you to say, okay, we need to, firm up this pre-approval as well. Everything has changed in the market, continuously. If you have a pre-approval that was there a month ago, it doesn't necessarily mean it's good today. A lot of things have changed. A lot of automated underwriting options have changed within the market. Things of that nature. We're seeing a whole new guideline for pre-approvals and people getting approved, and just say, there's more stricter on one side and they're not as strict on the other side. And so finding that perfect fit for them is super important going into the new year.
Yeah, so important. Well, if you can drop your information, Nikki, in the chat. Also,
Sure.
I would love if you just even said your phone number and your email out loud quick for the people that are watching the recording that might not have the chat up. I'll get it in the remarks too, but I think it's important to, give your cell phone out right now and your email address so people that are watching the recording can jot it down. So grab a pen and paper.
So my phone number is going to be 952-484-1584. My email is going to be n.erickson, just like it's spelled on my name tag there, nerickson@loandepot.com. So you can email me or call me or carrier pigeon, whatever works for you. I am not only licensed in Minnesota, also multiple states, Arizona, Texas, Florida, Colorado, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if you do have any questions and you're not watching just from Minnesota, definitely give me a call. If I am not personally licensed in that state, I can help you with, find opportunities for help within that state that you're looking for opportunities for your clients.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I'll get that in the chats as well, your phone number and your email address. So so before we wrap up, thank you so much, Nikki. That was, as usual, fantastic and such great information to have. I want to just, on the mindset and motivation side of thing, time management keeps coming up. And what I would love to just take one moment before we jump off to focus on is that time management, if you say it out loud a couple of times, and if you really think about it, no one manages time. Time is what it is. So what I would encourage you to do is think about that differently and manage yourself and your activities. So what activities are you putting into these time slots throughout the day? And how are you spending your time? And where can you leverage out? So as a real estate agent and someone that's trying, going out there and getting it done and doing all the things, feeling overwhelmed or that they're not getting results, I definitely would start with, what are you doing throughout the day? What time are you waking up? What routines do you have, or what do you need to work on? What actually are you doing throughout the day to, go from where you are to where you want to be? And I think with lenders, and Nikki, with you being so powerful, that is a big key in this business, because what I found out early on is that the lender that you recommend, the inspector that you recommend, the contractor, the title company, anything that comes from you is a direct extension of you. So you want someone like Nikki that knows what they're doing, that is ahead of the curve. So find those people that you can leverage your time and leverage what you shouldn't be focusing on to the right people that do it well and at a high level, and will make you look good. I mean, just look at how you're leveraging out your time and who's on your team. And if you don't feel you have a solid lender, Nikki is your gal, because she is amazing, fantastic. And I love how you deliver this information. You're precise, you're concise, you answer questions, your knowledge. I know when we had you speak at one of our live events, my mind was like, so thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. I appreciate that. Yes.
Absolutely. Reach out.
Yes.
You're
and it is all, I will tell you, it is all time management and all time blocking. That's what I live by, is all the time blocking. So it's a very great, it's an option that I've used for years, and it works really well for me to just, block off certain sets of time and really manage that time as well as best we can. So to make opportunities for more opportunities come in. So
I love it. All right. Well, thank you for today. We'll see you all here next week, same time, noon Central Standard Time Zone. Convert it to yours, and Nikki will be back. Don't miss it. It will give you the update like today. Big change. So be here every Monday.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Nikki.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.